John Jones, a 26-year-old medical student, died on November 25, 2009, after being trapped for over 27 hours in Utah's Nutty Putty cave. The incident occurred on November 24, 2009, when a minor accident happened during a caving expedition. As Ryan attempted to pull John out through his legs, unfortunately the pulley broke loose, and a piece of it violently struck Ryan's face. It seems John crawled to his own grave. How did a fun caving adventure turn into such a tragic disaster? Let's explore the heartbreaking story of John's final expedition and the desperate attempts to save him. On the evening of November 24th, 2009, John Jones and a group of friends and family members decided to explore the famous Nutty Putty cave in Utah. Little did they know that this adventure would lead to a horrifying ordeal and ultimately claim John's life. Nutty Putty Cave is located about 55 miles southwest of Salt Lake City, Utah. It's a natural hypothermal cave, meaning it was formed by hot water dissolving minerals in rocks and soil over time. The cave is known for its narrow tunnels and tight passages, making it a popular but challenging destination for experienced cavers. Dale Green first discovered the cave in 1960, and it quickly became a hotspot for adventure seekers. Each year, around 5,000 visitors come to explore its twisting passages. However, Nutty Putty Cave had a dangerous reputation. Between 1999 and 2004, there were several incidents where people got stuck and needed rescuing. These safety concerns led authorities to close the cave in 2006 temporarily. After much debate between officials and professional cavers, Nutty Putty Cave was reopened in 2009 with new safety measures. Cavers now had to apply for permits 3 weeks in advance, and only one group was allowed inside at a time. Each group needed at least 2 experienced cavers present. John Jones was somewhat familiar with caving. As children, he and his brother Josh went on caving trips with their father. This experience, along with the new safety guidelines, gave them the confidence to explore Nutty Putty Cave. On that fateful November evening, John, Josh, and 9 others arrived at the cave entrance around 8 p.m. The group included family members and friends, all excited for the adventure ahead. They entered the cave one by one, unaware of the tragedy that would unfold. To understand what happened next, it's important to know the layout of Nutty Putty Cave. The cave has only one entrance, which is about 30 inches wide. Inside, it splits into 2 main sections, the big room to the left and the birth canal to the right. Most visitors would typically explore the big room and the big side areas, as these were relatively easier to navigate. However, beyond these areas lay more challenging passages, including the infamous birth canal. The birth canal is an extremely narrow passage that splits into 2 branches. The right branch leads to sections called the Aorta Crawl and Scout Erickson Crawl, which are generally considered safer. The left branch, however, leads to a dangerous and largely unmapped area called Ed's Push. As the group made their way through the cave, they split up. Some members, who were there just for a mild experience, headed towards the easier big room area. John, Josh, and a few others, seeking more adventure, took the challenging route towards the birth canal. Everything seemed fine for about an hour as they explored the cave. Then John, Josh, and 2 friends decided to attempt a particularly difficult passage, the birth canal. This is where things started to get terribly wrong. John, being the most excited volunteer to go first, he began crawling on his stomach head first into the birth canal. This was mistake number 1. Experienced cavers usually enter tight spaces feet first for safety. As John reached the point where the birth canal split, he faced a crucial decision. He needed to choose between the right path, the safer Aorta Crawl, and the left path, the dangerous Ed's Push. Unfortunately, John made the fatal mistake of turning left into Ed's Push. John didn't realize he had taken the wrong turn. He kept pushing forward, thinking he was still in the birth canal. As he moved deeper, the passage became increasingly tight. John was now in a section that was largely unexplored and unmapped. Despite the increasing difficulty, John kept going. He believed there would be a larger room ahead where he could turn around, but instead the passage just kept getting narrower. Soon, John found himself in a terrible situation. He was now stuck in a tiny crevice, measuring just 10 by 18 inches, about the same size of a front-loading washing machine door. Even worse, he was trapped at a 70-degree angle with his body pointing downward. John's feet were wedged in the narrowest part of the aperture. His arms were pinned beneath him, rendering them useless. He couldn't move forward, and he couldn't push himself back. Realizing the gravity of the situation, John called out to his brother Josh. Josh, stay where you are, don't follow me, I'm stuck." Josh, alarmed by his brother's cries, carefully made his way to John. When he reached him, Josh was horrified by what he saw. All he could see were John's feet sticking out a tiny hole. Josh tried to pull John out by his feet, but it was impossible. John was too tightly wedged in the gap, and his weight worked against him. Every time Josh pulled, John would slide back into the same position. After several failed attempts, Josh realized that they needed professional help. He told John he was going to get assistance and carefully made his way back to the cave. By this time, John had been trapped for about 3 hours. Once outside, Josh immediately called for help and informed the other members of their group about John's situation. The first rescue team arrived at the cave another hour later. The first rescuer to reach John was Susie Mottola. She was chosen because of her small size, which allowed her to navigate the tight passages more easily. Susie was attached to a rope for safety as she crawled through the birth canal and into Ed's push. When Susie reached John, it was around 12:30 a.m. on November 25th. She found him in a dire situation, hanging upside down with only his feet visible. Despite his predicament, John remained calm and even managed to crack a joke about his situation. Susie tried to pull John out using ropes, but it was impossible. The angle was too awkward and John was too firmly stuck. After 2 hours of unsuccessful attempts, Susie had to retreat. The rescue team then decided to try using a pulley system. 5 years earlier, this was the same method used to rescue another caver, Brock Clark, who had gotten stuck in a nearby area called the Nutcracker.
It was the moment rescuers had worked so hard for, as deep as 150 feet underground. 16-year-old Brock Clark exhausted.
While the rescuers worked on setting up the pulley system, they established a two-way communication line with John. This allowed him to speak with his wife, Emily, who was waiting anxiously outside the cave. Emily encouraged John and tried to keep his spirits up during this terrifying ordeal. By now, John had been trapped for 18 hours. The pulley system was finally installed around 4 p.m. on November 25th. A new rescuer, Ryan, was sent in to attach the pulleys to John's feet. Ryan managed to secure the ropes and started trying to pull John free. For a moment, it seemed like it might work. John was lifted about 12 inches out of the aperture, but then disaster struck. The pulley anchor suddenly gave way. John fell back into the crevice, this time wedged even tighter than before. The impact severely injured him, and rescuers feared he might have broken his arms or ribs. This setback was devastating for everyone involved. The rescue team had to come up with a new plan, but options were running out. They considered using airbags to help lift John, but the space was too tight to fit them in. As hours passed, John's condition worsened. He was having trouble breathing due to his inverted position and the pressure on his chest. Rescuers provided him with an IV drop for hydration and a radio to keep communicating with him. The rescue attempt had now turned into a race against time. More than 100 rescuers were involved, working tirelessly to save John. However, the cave's narrow passages made it incredibly difficult to bring in necessary equipment or to work effectively. As hours passed, John's condition began to deteriorate. Being upside down for an extended period was taking a toll on his body. The position caused blood to rush to his head and put immense pressure on his organs. John was experiencing difficulty breathing, and his heart was working overtime to pump blood against gravity. One of the most touching moments during the rescue attempt came when rescuers set up a radio system that allowed John to speak with his wife, Emily, who was waiting anxiously outside the cave. Their conversation was emotional and heartbreaking. John reassured Emily that he would make it out and see her soon. This communication seemed to give John a renewed sense of hope and determination. As the rescue efforts stretched into the 18th hour, rescuers came up with a new plan. They decided to use a more powerful system of pulleys and ropes, hoping that additional force might be enough to free John from the aperture. The team worked diligently to set up the new system, carefully securing ropes around John's legs. Just when it seemed like progress was being made, disaster struck. As rescuers began to pull, the pulley system suddenly failed. A piece of equipment broke loose and struck one of the rescuers in their face, causing serious injury. This setback was devastating for the rescue team and for John, who slid back into his original position. The failed attempt and the injury to a rescuer forced the team to reassess their strategy. They realized that their tight space and John's awkward position made conventional rescue methods nearly impossible. Time was running out, and John's condition was worsening by the hour. In a last-ditch effort, rescuers considered more drastic measures. There was a talk of using explosives to widen the passage or even amputating John's legs to set him free. However, these ideas were quickly dismissed as too dangerous or impractical, given the confined space and John's fragile state. As the rescue attempt entered its 27th hour, the situation took a tragic turn. John, who had been responsive and talking with rescuers throughout the ordeal, suddenly fell silent. Rescuers could no longer get a response from him. A medical team was sent in to assess John's condition, but the news was heartbreaking. At 11:56 p.m. on November 25th, 2009, John Edward Jones was pronounced dead. The cause of John's death was determined to be cardiac arrest combined with respiratory failure due to his inverted position. The prolonged period of being upside down had put too much strain on his body, and ultimately his organs couldn't cope with the stress. The news of John's death was devastating for everyone involved. The rescue team, who had worked tirelessly for over a day, was crushed. John's family, who had been holding out hope for a miracle, was left to grapple with an unimaginable loss. The caving community and the wider public were shocked by the tragic outcome of what was supposed to be a fun adventure. In the aftermath of the accident, authorities faced another difficult decision. Removing John's body from the cave proved to be just as challenging as the rescue attempt itself. After careful consideration and consultation with John's family, it was decided that recovering his body would be too dangerous and could potentially put more lives at risk. In a heart-wrenching decision, it was agreed that Nutty Putty Cave would become John's final resting place. The passage where John was trapped was sealed off, and the entire cave was eventually closed to the public. A memorial plaque was placed at the cave's entrance, serving as a somber reminder of the tragedy that occurred within. The Nutty Putty Cave accident had a profound impact on the caving community and led to increased discussions about cave safety. Many questioned whether the cave could have been open to public in the first place, given its challenging and potentially dangerous passages. In the years following the accident, John's story had been told and retold, serving as a cautionary tale about the risks of caving and the importance of proper safety measures. A movie titled The Last Descent was made in 2016, dramatizing John's struggle and the failed rescue attempt. The tragedy also sparked debates about rescue protocols in caving accidents. Some experts argued that more aggressive measures should have been taken earlier in the rescue attempt, while others maintained that the rescuers did everything possible given the extremely difficult circumstances. John's family, while devastated by their loss, chose to focus on celebrating John's life rather than dwelling on the circumstances of his death. They remembered him as a loving husband, father, and son who lived life to the fullest. John left behind a wife and a younger daughter, with another child on the way at the time of his death. The Nutty Putty Cave accident serves as a stark reminder of the unpredictable nature of cave exploration. Even experienced cavers like John can find themselves in life-threatening situations due to a single misjudgment or wrong turn. The incident highlighted the importance of proper training, equipment, and caution when engaging in such potentially dangerous activities. In the years since the tragedy, the caving community has placed an even greater emphasis on safety education and preparedness. Many caving organizations now require more rigorous training and certification processes for those wishing to explore challenging cave systems. The closure of Nutty Putty Cave marked the end of an era for Utah cavers. At the same time, some mourned the loss of access to a popular caving site, but most understood and respected the decision. The cave's closure serves as a permanent memorial to John and a reminder of the respect we must have for nature's most challenging environments. John's story continues to resonate with people all over the world, not just as a tale of tragedy, but as a testament to human perseverance and the selflessness of rescue workers. The rescuers who worked tirelessly to save John, even at a great personal risk, exemplified the best of human nature in the face of dire circumstances. As we reflect on the Nutty Putty Cave accident, we're reminded of the delicate balance between adventure and safety. John's passion for exploration is something many can relate to. Still, his story also underscores the importance of caution and preparedness when venturing into the unknown. The tragedy of Nutty Putty Cave will forever be etched in the annals of caving history. It stands as a somber reminder of the risks in exploring the Earth's hidden chambers and the thin line that sometimes separates an exciting adventure from a devastating tragedy. John Edward Jones may have lost his life in the narrow passage, but his story lives on, serving as both a warning and a tribute to the human spirit of exploration. In the end, the Nutty Putty Cave accident is not just a caving mishap or a failed rescue. It's a story of human endurance, family bonds, rescuers' bravery, and a community coming to terms with an irreplaceable loss. It's a reminder that in our pursuit of adventure and discovery, we must never forget the fragility of life and the unforgiving nature of the environments we seek to explore. As we remember John Edward Jones and the events of November 2009, let us honor his memory by approaching our adventures with respect, preparation, and a keen awareness of our limits. In doing so, we ensure that John's tragic story serves as a lasting lesson, potentially saving lives and preventing future tragedies in the world of caving and beyond. That's all for today, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to subscribe, like, and share this video. Until next time, stay tuned for more.
Lastly, Afterrender produces our YouTube videos, specializing in top-notch video production.